Hi, good afternoon. My name's Eliot Smith from Pro-Moto, and we're just doing this little video about charging systems. As you know, we're experts in electric vehicle technology. We have a number of training programs to help you guys out in understanding how these vehicles work. But I thought I'd just share a little bit about charging systems, because evidently, as we move on to full electric vehicles or even plug-ins, we can't charge. Eventually, you're not going to go anywhere. So customers will get concerned, or they will get anxious if their vehicles all of a sudden, for whatever reason, starts charging. We do a one-day course on this. I'll give you the details of that towards the end of this little video, but I'll just share a little snippet of information to give you some idea of what we're dealing with. So first things first, the amount of different plugs that we use to charge vehicles. There are a number of different things. You can use a 3-pin plug, a domestic 3-pin plug. I wouldn't recommend that. It's not the best way and the most safest way of charging your vehicle, although it can be done. We'll share with you what the restrictions on that should be if you're charging through a 3-pin plug, but that's going to be really slow charging your car as far as or any vehicle is concerned, whether it's plug-in or plug-in hybrid or full electric. Commando, we don't see that at all, but under legislation, under the requirements, there is provision for using commando plugs. That's your kind of caravan or sort of motorhome plug-in or hookup type of connections. Technically it can be done, but we never really see it, but you know, we need to cover it as far as the course is concerned. Then we move on to dedicated plugs used for electric vehicles and plug-ins, type 1, type 2. Then we have CCS, which stands for Combined Charging System. Then we look on to CHAdeMO, which is a unique DC charging, and NACS, which is really concerned with North America and Tesla vehicles as that's concerned. So as you can see straight away, there's quite a lot of different combinations or types of charging plugs that can be used for charging vehicles. Depends where the vehicles come from, depends what age it is, and the manufacturer, what their preferences are. But generally speaking, now we concentrate, certainly in Europe, on type 2. That's the most common, probably most user-friendly type of plug that we see for charging vehicles. Good thing about type 2 is it can do single phase and it can do 3-phase as well. So that's a really handy thing to know. We want to look at just briefly the orientation and the pin layout of a type 2 plug and socket. As you can see, we have a number of connections. The proximity or PP pin is really used to make sure that the vehicle understands, or the charging understands, the charge point understands that it actually has something plugged into it. So it's what we call a proximity. So as soon as you plug it in, the charge point and the vehicle should know that it's connected to some sort of plug. Doesn't mean to say it's charging at all, it just means that's the proximity. The second one is what we call the CP, or the control pilot communications. That's used to relay information between the vehicle and the charge point on a number of factors: what's available current-wise, what the state of the charger battery is, and so forth and so forth. So that's quite an important one. Both of these connections rely on what we call the P, which is the protective earth. To you and me, that's the ground, or the earth between the vehicle, the whole vehicle itself, and the charge point. So we make sure that there is a protective earth, and we use those in combination with the proximity and the CP line. Beyond that, we've got electrical connections. So we have a line 1, single phase, line 2 and line 3 for 3-phase charging. And we have a neutral, of course, for any domestic installation. We have to have a neutral there as well. So you can see these pins are located on this type of plug. Okay, what we're going to do now is just give you a little quick demonstration, a little practical exercise, so you can test or just check a couple of things on a charge point. And this is common for all type 2 charge points. So we can just show you that briefly, and I'll come back to you and explain to you in a little while the course content that we have for this plug-in course we have for one day. Okay. Checks can be done quite easily with a simple multimeter. We don't need any more complicated than that. And in this case, we're going to use a breakout box which we make up for our training courses. This may be a simple little thing that we can plug in a charge point and we can check the output of that charge point. Beyond that, if you want to, and you want to spend a little bit more money, you can use a charge point checker. This is quite expensive, it's automated, it's quite useful to use, but to be really honest with you, a simple little breakout box will do your simple checks as far as this exercise is concerned. Okay, so here we are. Here's a simple pre-basic charging point. This is active, you can see by the blue flashing light. And we can do a number of checks. I think the first thing to do, if you have a fuse box on this, some of these have a separate fuse box, just check it to make sure the fuse hasn't blown. You can undo this, or obviously your electrical supply, in your domestic supply, you might want to check the fuse box. Simple breaker point there, that's switched on, we can see that it's flashing. This isn't a button, it's just an LED to show us that it's ready to charge. Okay, so that's the first thing we need to check. Now with our little simple breakout box, we can look at, we can plug this in, this gives access to the pins. Now, you don't need this, you could use your probes on your multimeter to use this, but this makes it more convenient for us to use. Now, two simple checks. We're going to switch this to DC volts. Now, if we go between, now remember we've got three connections on here we've talked about. The protective earth, so we'll plug our multimeter negative into the protective earth. And if we look at the proximity, all right, as soon as we plug that in, we should see approximately 5 volts on there. So we know this is tasking, so that when we plug this in, that signal should change. So the 5 volts should be there whenever the charger's switched on, okay? That's your first check, dead easy. Second check, take that out of there, put it into the control pilot, the CP connection. This time, it should be 12 volts, okay? So again, the 12 volts should tell us that this output's in the right correct voltage and this charger should be good to go. All right, there are a few other things, of course, if you attend a course, then we'll tell you other things you can check on as far as that's concerned. So two simple checks, we can do that to make sure the charge point has got the correct voltages outputs on there. Alternatively, I said before, if you want to and you want to go towards the expense, you can check, you can use one of these charge checkers. Now these are really designed for electricians when they install these types of things, but we can use it for our purposes here. Now this is an automated system, and you can see we have a number of dials on here. So I'm going to set it to 13 amps, okay, and then I'm going to set it to, ask it to see if it's proximity, and then if I switch it to this one here, it will convince the charge point is connected to a cart, so this should switch on. And if we click it to there, you can hear the thunk, there's the relays, and also we can see that the output is now live. Okay, very simple check, and this should work every time. So simple check as far as the charge checker is concerned. So two solutions for you, simple checks with your charge point. Either use your multimeter, either with a breakout or your probes into there. So PP and CP using your protective earth, or if you want to go to the expense of using a charge point checker, you can to make sure. So you can eliminate this if you think your customer's got concerns about the vehicle charging. If you suspect there's a problem with this, don't take it any further. That's for an electrician to come out, or an EV charge point installer to check it out to make sure it's working properly or to fix that, okay? All right, guys, that's the practical exercises for this simple check on charge points. Okay, now we've looked at the simple checks, let's have a look at the course content. It's quite comprehensive. When I first put this together, I thought, can't be that difficult charging systems, but actually there's quite a lot to cover. So we'll do things like the different types of charging levels, the types of chargers, the cables, the sockets, the levels and modes of charging that can be associated with the different types of plugs and stuff like this. The difference between onboard charging and offboard charging, so that's quite important. And we look at the protocols used to connect. So the protocols are the regulations, electrical regulations, and the agreements globally about how we charge electric vehicles. Temperature sensors on some of the things, we could check those out, have a look at those, because that's quite important to make sure that the plug doesn't overheat itself. And also we look at some smart charging, the connections, communications, and a little bit of troubleshooting towards the end. So quite a a full packed day as far as charging systems concerned. If you want to know more, go onto our website www.pro-moto.co.uk. You can always ring us up 01252 37762 or drop us an email, inquiries@pro-moto.co.uk. The price of the course, £295 plus VAT. You can book online, as I say, ring us up. We've got dates available for you, so have a look at those, check those out, and come and see how you can get on with charging systems. One prerequisite for this course is you need to do your level 2-3 to make sure we know, or you can understand, and you have a comprehensive understanding of how electric vehicles work. So you have the underpinning knowledge for that at least anyway. All right guys, well thank you for your time. See you soon, and we'll come back with another video in a little while with some other ideas and snippets and stuff. Okay, thanks very much. Cheers.